Hi there and welcome to another workout for you to row along to. Now today is all about fitness, it's about endurance, okay? And don't worry, it's not as dull as it sounds. We're continuing the AI generated performance prep plan. I use the AI ChatGPT software to give me a plan and we're kind of rowing along to that. It works perfectly fine. But it actually had today's session is we're straight into a 45-minute endurance row, which I think is a little bit too long in terms of building up. So we've already done one 30-minute row, we're now going to do a 35, and then in the next week we'll then do 40 and 45. Okay, so today is just going to be 35 minutes straight and we're going to do it at 20 strokes a minute. Now I want you to pick an intensity here where it feels like it's 5 out of 10 from an effort, okay? Your heart rate goes up, you feel the intensity going up a little bit, your breathing's up, but it doesn't feel tough, okay? So find your sweet spot for that. It should feel as though you're like walking up a constant flight of stairs where you know you're working, you know that it's like, oh, this is good for me, but you're not gonna get tired out, okay? So usually if you're a well-trained rower, this is gonna be around about 2K plus 18 to kind of 2K plus 20, if you've kind of got good core fitness anyway, but if you are just coming back and you're kind of getting yourself sharpened up for performance, you might want to back off a few more seconds off that to keep it down at that 5 out of 10 intensity, all right? In terms of heart rate training, this means you want to be down at that UT2 zone, or I'm going to be like blue-green for my zone, okay? Zone. Right, but before we get into today's row, we have to do a 4-minute warm-up and we have to set up our machine. Now, the concept to that means going and setting a drag factor to where you want it to be first. If you don't know where you want it to be, then just set it between like 4 and 5, because too low isn't a problem, too high is when it gets a little bit tricksy. Next up, if you can, set your monitor to eye height so you don't have to look up, you don't have to look down, and finally adjust those foot stretchers so you can come to the front of the machine with your shins in a vertical position. Woohoo, nice and comfortable. If you're set too high, then it can be a bit tricky to get to there. If you're set too low, you can quite easily go scooting straight past, which just loses power and things. Okay, so we're going to do this warm up and run about 20 strokes a minute, and I want you to ease into it and then kind of gradually build intensity over the first 2 minutes, okay? Here we go, in 3, 2, 1, let's go. So I feel I'm speaking faster and faster in these intros, because I'm trying to just get into rowing as quick as possible. But I can't quite work out how to shave off the stuff I say at the start. I need to explain what the session is and what the intensity is going to be. Because otherwise you're like, well, do I want to do this one? So yeah, try and get it through it, and then it means I'm speaking really fast, so apologies. So, like I say, this warm-up, use it as a chance for your body to, well, warm up. Okay, so you don't want to really hit this full guns blazing, especially on today's session. It's a low intensity row anyway, so you can use this 4-minute warm-up to just get your body moving, open up those angles, not really worry about any kind of intensity here. Just make sure you've got that timing right between the push of your feet and your hands connecting to the machine, and then pushing with those feet to get the power in. Swing your back from a forwards tilt to a backwards tilt. Arms nice and straight at the front of the stroke. I'll talk more, hopefully, in an interesting way about technique during today's row. So don't worry if you didn't quite catch that. I'm not just going to talk technique the whole time, don't worry. I'll think of something else to say. Okay, 3 more strokes, and then we'll put 1 foot on the ground and do some single leg rowing. So here we go. 1 foot out on the ground, continue rowing. Just realised I've got my big kind of high sport socks on today with a nice orange logo on it. The most attractive socks in the world, sorry. I'm back to rowing in socks again for a while, just to get back to how it feels. Let's take 1 more here, swap feet. Whee! I was rowing in shoes for the past 6 months again, while I was training for high rocks, because there was so much running involved, you kind of have to wear shoes. but I didn't want to waste time taking my shoes off in the race. So I'm back to socks again for a wee while. Okay, both feet back into the straps, keep your legs straight, and then row with your back and arms. So swing over your back and then pull in your arms. So swing, pull, arms out, and rock forwards again. So you really should feel like you're initially connecting with that back swing. That's what picks up the weight of the flywheel, and then you pull in with the arms. Let's do 2 more here, and then we'll roll to the front. Arms straight, forwards tilt, push with the legs. Try to hold this forwards tilt and arms straight position as you push with the legs. Might have a small recoil at the back, but the important part here is that you really think about the power just coming with the legs, because then when you add in the back swing and the arm pull that we practiced before, that then gives you more power. Whoosh, okay? So it comes from the legs, then the back, then the arms. Right, so have a quick drink, just keep on sliding up and down the rail, and I'll quickly explain one more time what it is we're doing today. Okay, once again then, what we're doing today is just 35 minutes straight at 20 strokes a minute. At a nice low intensity, okay? It's really important you keep that at low intensity. Obviously there's a band where it's too low and you don't feel like you're working, but it's also an important band where you just go a little bit too high and you're not getting the benefits from this kind of a session. I'll talk more about the benefits of the session in the main row because we've got 35 minutes ahead of us, but I just want to say don't go too hard, okay? So possibly even the pace you were doing that warm-up at just then is perfect for you, especially as being this is a 35-minute row, and things will drift as time goes on, but you want to make sure it's feeling enough that you know you got to work out of it, but not so much that you think you're going to have to lie down on the floor afterwards, or that you have to kind of push in order to keep up. This should never feel tough, okay? It should always just kind of feel that kind of manageable thing. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so we're going to get into this because there's no point in me talking now. So if you haven't already, have a quick drink. And then we'll get started in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Now, 20 strokes a minute is a really nice rate for quite a few reasons. First of them being, it's 1 stroke every 3 seconds. So you can just look at the counter and count down in 3s, okay? And that will then give you your stroke rate. You don't have to think about anything else other than making sure you take the drive of your stroke at every 3-second point. It's not like 22 or something where it's a little bit tricky to get the timing right. Here, you just make sure you're going down in 3s. But it also means that you can split the stroke up into the correct ratio, which is 1 second drive, 2 seconds recover at 20 strokes a minute. That gives a 2-to-1 or 1-to-2 ratio, depending on how you're attacking your ratio. But the point is, a nice, powerful drive with a longer recovery. Because who wouldn't want to spend longer recovering? When you think about it, this is a 35-minute row divided by 3. Oh, hang on, can't do that maths. So 11:40, is that right? Yeah. So that's 23 minutes and 20 seconds that you will spend just recovering. If you go at a 2-to-1 or 1-to-2 ratio, which actually makes it sound quite lazy, to be honest. we're only actually driving for 11 minutes and 40 seconds. What do you think about that? I think maybe I should be working harder. But the point is, that's why you have a powerful drive. That's why you put in effort through your drive. You're not taking a limp, easy stroke and trying to kind of even out work and recovery. Effort, and then lots of recovery. Effort, lots of recovery. And that way, you get time to not only recover, but to make sure your body is in the right position for the next stroke. So if you're rushing backwards and forwards, it's quite easy to just throw yourself around the rowing machine. Whereas with 2 seconds, 2 whole seconds of recovery, you can fit in so much. So you can go arms, rock, knees, arms, rock, knees, and a nice fluid move to make sure you're ready in the right position for the next stroke. Because if you kind of rush forwards and lurch, this is when this weirdness comes in, where you're trying to compensate for either a slower drive or a faster recovery. You lose control, you lose consistency, and that way you lose power and efficiency. But after all, that's why I keep wanging on about technique and things. Power, efficiency, and injury prevention. I just want you to be able to row as much as you want. And if injury keeps you off the machine because you've got poor technique, that's no use to anyone, is it? Like you may have noticed there's been a couple of days pause between session 3 and session 4, which we're doing right now, of this plan, because, well, done something to my elbow, lifting weights. It's my ulnar nerve just seems inflamed and sore. And that's because when it comes to bench presses, I have a terrible technique. And so I'm now having to take time away from lifting weights while I recover. But the good news is that I can row. And I'm hoping that's because I don't have a jerky technique that would aggravate my elbow. So yeah, so injury can keep you off the machine. Trust me, I've been there. Even from a rowing point of view. When I first started rowing and racing, I used to row with a drag factor of around about 185. So on a clean machine, that was the lever up at around about 8. Remember, lever does not give you a satisfactory comparable resistance from machine to machine. My machine on 8 is going to feel totally different to your machine with a lever at 8. Anyway, I digress. So, really high drag factor, and I was, as much as I thought I had a good technique, I would swing my back too soon. Subtle, as you can see it, but my back would be already pointing backwards, and so therefore I'd have to pull a lot more with my arm. Which actually I can feel it up in my forearm, just demonstrating that to you. So let's stop doing that. And anyway, it doesn't feel too tough when rowing at this kind of a pace. But I was training for 2K races and putting everything I could into the machine. I ended up with stress fractures in my ribs just because of the tugging, basically, of the muscle like off the ribs, and then inflaming the intercostal muscles and the lining between them and the ribs, which, to be honest, that was enough without even thinking about stress fractures. And so I had to endure quite considerable pain through January and February of 2015 because I had a ticket to the World Championships in Boston, and it was my first one, and I hadn't paid any cancellation insurance, and so trained through it with my rubbish technique on a drag factor that was too high. Managed to get through the race, came fourth, which is a bit disappointing, all the way from Scotland to Boston to come fourth. But still, fourth in the world for my age and weight. I'll still take that. But anyway, I then had to address the problem. There was like 2 months that I couldn't row for while I waited for my chest to heal. And that really set me back from a training point of view. Good news, well, a good thing that came out of it, I suppose, was in that time I did quite a lot of research into why I'd got injured. Found out it was a combination of poor technique with too high a drag factor for too many sessions. Because you can row with a high drag factor, but you just have to understand that from a physiological point of view, the heavier the stroke feels, the more it comes or becomes about muscles and straining against the weight of the stroke with that increase in drag factor. So short rows, 100 meter, 1 minute, possibly 500s. You can have a higher drag, and as long as you're not doing like 20 of them a day for a couple of months, your body will probably just deal with it. I was doing like 30-minute time trials every couple of nights at that high drag and with poor technique. And then trying to do this low intensity stuff as well, which can often be a bigger culprit because a higher drag factor causes the flywheel to slow down even faster than a lower one. So a 20 strokes a minute low intensity row, my flywheel would be slowing down a lot. I'd really be heaving against it to get it moving. So what I should really have been doing is rowing with a drag factor like I've got now, 140 for most of the sessions, and then only doing the kind of top intensity, race intensity stuff up at max. Because the thing about drag factor and the control and the concept too, or even the resistance on water rowers and most rowing machines, is it's not just about replicating the feel of rowing on the water. It's also about finding the right setting for you and for the session that you're rowing, or at least making sure it's at an optimal range for most of your rows. And then if you are doing short, sharp sprints, finding out how high you can raise the drag before it starts to negatively impact you. So again, you don't want to get to a point where you can't continue. And so if you have any machine set up so that, say you've got this 35-minute row ahead of you, how do you set your machine up so that, excuse me, it's really, really heavy, lots of resistance. It may be that you get halfway through that row and you have to stop. Not because you're too tired from a cardio point of view, but literally just because your muscles are like, sorry mate, we've had enough, we're out of here, and you just can't continue. Or the flip side to that is that you set it too light, and so in order to get up to speed, you're like an engine powering along at 40 strokes a minute, and then halfway through the row, even though your muscles aren't worn out, your cardio is and you're like, can't breathe anymore, got to stop. So what you want to find is a setting that lets you row for as long as you want, but also at an intensity that you want. And remember, on a Concept 2 and a water rower, to be honest, the resistance you feel is mostly controlled by how much power you put into the machine. So I can limp up and down through the stroke, not putting much power in, but still holding 20 strokes a minute. Or I can push harder with my legs, get a good feel from the stroke, but not feel like I'm overpowering it and that I'm gonna run out of energy soon. Or of course, I can really power into the machine and it feels like I'm rowing a Viking ship across the ocean. And you ideally want the middle one. Anyway, sorry. Crikey, that was a long time just talking drag factor. Truth is, I'm making a proper standalone video about it right now. I did just upload 2 videos kind of going over what I just said about the difference it makes pushing the power into the machine. So go and check them out if you haven't already, but keep an eye out for a longer one, which really does go a bit deeper into how the resistance on the Concept 2 works. And I know this is a good time to give a shout out to the water rowers out there. I don't want to feel like I'm alienating you, forgetting about you. Because the truth is, I do tend to talk about this stuff from a Concept 2 point of view. I don't often throw that much info towards the water rowers. In fact, somebody left a YouTube comment saying it'd be nice to have a few sessions where I was on the water rower instead of Concept 2, and you know what? They were 100% right. Unfortunately, what I have is a Concept 2 and a water rower, even second hand, looking on Gumtree and Facebook Marketplace, is like £900, say about $1,100. And you have to remember, I don't charge anything for what I do here on RowAlong. So apart from the donations I gratefully, very gratefully receive to either PayPal or Patreon, or the small amount I get from the adverts that run before the videos, I don't make money from doing this. So if I were to go out and buy a water rower just for the sake of a change, a little bit of variation. That would be pretty much my entire earnings wiped out. So either I start properly monetizing RowAlong in order to satisfy those requests, or I just wait, see if I can find somewhere, someone with a water rower, and hopefully one day make a few sessions. And unless somebody wants to donate a water rower or £900, I'll go with the I'll wait option, because I don't want to monetize RowAlong for a few reasons. First and foremost, I want this just to be an entirely free resource for people to go to, that there will always be free access to these videos one way or another. It's not to say I'll never look at ways to also make money, but there will always be RowAlong on YouTube for free. So I don't want to have a paywall, is what I'm saying. I don't ever want, like, to release a plan and you get 2 weeks into it and then suddenly I'm like, hey, in order to continue, give me your money. That will never happen. So yeah. But the other thing, there you go, 10 minutes to go. The other thing is, as I said before, if I were to start charging, I would then be entering properly the world of my competitors, of all the other coaches on the internet, whether they're YouTube based or whether they're just coaches who offer their services via Messenger and things. There's loads of them out there. It's quite a crowded market. And so competing with them would be too tough. Or at least I'd probably get a few people who'd pay me, I hope, but I'd lose everybody else. And I've kind of grown accustomed to seeing you all here, to seeing the familiar names, Esther and Doug, Brock, Grace. I'm trying to, don't make me remember names. I'm just going to start. There's James and Mike, Steve, Colin. I'm going to stop, okay, sorry. Apologies to all the Sharitas and Crystals and Caitlin's out there that I haven't shouted out to, but yeah, so another thing is I'd have to really up my professional game. I couldn't just sit down and have a completely free-form stream of consciousness chat like I have today. I mean, my intention was I'd talk technique today, because I haven't really in this plan so far. So apart from talking a little bit about it when I was talking about stroke ratio, I completely missed that boat. Although we do have 7 minutes left. But I just think it'd take all of the fun out of it for me if I suddenly had to be a professional presenter type. And I think it would take all the fun out of it for you as well. Because, in fact, last week I recorded a podcast with the steady state people. Take a look on wherever you get your podcasts and you'll see my wee face pop up. I think episode, I want to say 37, it might be 96, who knows. But anyway, they were saying that they took a deep dive into my back history on here. The first rows I did when I was in the CrossFit gym before I changed the name to RowAlong. And truth is, when I was trying to be a very straight, hello, come to me for some coaching, this is what we're doing today, haha, style presenter, it was just really flat. And it was no wonder the early videos took a while to take off. Although ironically, it's one of those videos, the hour-long one, is the one that has the highest views for my channel. So maybe I should just go back to just talking very straight and presenter-like. But yeah, I'm not going to do that. I don't think, I mean, even if I had a script where I always followed the same hits, I think you'd possibly just get a bit bored of that as well. I mean, there's jeopardy to doing one of my rows where you just don't know. Well, you just don't know what I'm going to say. So it could be one where I am very straight, talking technique, and it's not really a fun laugh a minute row. Or it could be one of those Friday rows where I've gone a little bit gung-ho because I know I'm getting spaghetti bolognese at night. See the last session for that. Or it could just be one of these kind of meandery ones, but then I think sometimes when it's a 35-minute row, especially when there's no rests, there's no change in pace, it just ticks along for 35 minutes. I mean, this is the kind of row where if I'm doing it on my own, I'll tend to put a podcast on, not music, because I just lock into the rhythm and the intensity and just have to hold it for 35 minutes and not give up because I'm bored. And so I think that's what this kind of row lends itself to. It's just me chattering away, and you just roll along going, crikey, what's he on about now? And you kind of endure what I'm talking about. In fact, that's why today is an endurance row. It's not just about building your fitness, getting your endurance for rowing up. It's also about enduring my chat. I'm not really selling myself well, though, am I? But like I say in all my stuff, I'm here to distract you, to motivate you, and hopefully entertain you. That's not to say you always get all three. If there's one that's important, it's distract. I think if I can help get you through like a 35-minute row where you maybe you broke the 8,000 meter marker, maybe you broke 7,000, maybe 6, who knows? I don't know how fast you're rowing. Now this bit my tongue, hence why I said 6. But 5 distracted you enough to get you through a 35-minute row, and maybe any other day listening to music or the Stuff You Should Know podcast, maybe you would have given up 20 minutes into it because you're like, oh, I'm just not feeling it. Whereas, because I'm talking this rowy stuff the whole time, maybe you stuck with it. Okay, one more stroke. Whew. There we go. Right, have a quick drink and we'll get straight into a 2-minute cool down. That shouldn't have been so intense that you have to have a full on at the end, so. My heart rate's 130 BPM, which is about 55% of my max. And yeah, I've recovered about 5 beats, so that just shows intensity-wise where I was. So that was slap bang in the UT2 for me. Nope. Right, so I'm going to do a 2-minute cool down. So just stay at that intensity that you just rode at, and then ease off over this 2 minutes. Here we go in 3, 2, 1, let's go. And we might as well let's just tighten up our technique over this 2 minutes, okay? Said before that the cool down is a good time to just lock in your technique. So there's always a chance of fatigue had set in over the past 35 minutes that you were starting to kind of lose your posture and slump maybe as you were coming forward. So now you can slow down your stroke. You can reduce the amount of push that you're putting in from your legs, so you're no longer worrying about fighting the weight of the machine. Okay, so I'm at 18 strokes a minute. I can just push lighter with my legs. Still at 18, and I've just dropped 20 seconds pace because I'm no longer pushing with my legs that hard, but I'm still holding 18 strokes a minute. Or I can push a little bit harder. I can feel the connection of my feet to my arms again, and I've gone 30 seconds faster just by pushing with my feet and connecting the power to the machine. And so that can be a good drill to do, is just to take yourself up through the power, starting off softly, then adding power in, making sure to keep the angles right. So forwards tilt, arms straight. As you push, hold those arms straight and the forwards tilt. until at least halfway through the leg drive, and then swing and pull in your arms. And then you can just attenuate your power as you're doing that, just to get used to the feeling of adding in or reducing power. There we go, 2 minutes done. So, let's finish off with some stretching. Got two options. Stretchy John will take you through some stretching. Look at his little grumpy face, always so cute. Or I will take you through some stretching on the machine. So, put your feet back in the straps if you're doing this. Legs nice and straight, hands in the air, fold forwards. And if you get that fold right, so you're not slumping through your lower back, you're not rounding your upper back or anything, you should feel that that fold forwards tight or stretches your, not tightens, but stretches your hamstrings, okay? So think about the angle of your back, how you fold forwards. Think about whether you don't want to lock your knees down and backwards, but you also want to make sure that they're nice and straight. If you've got too soft a bend to your knees, you're not going to get that stretch, okay? So find the angle that works for you is really all I'm saying. Right, there we go. Let's get this the right way around. Is this right way around? Yeah, cool. Glutes we're doing next. So put one leg up on the rail or on the floor if you're doing this on the floor, and then bring one leg up and over so that the heel is in the crook of your knee. Bring that knee across your body so you have a straight line between your face, your knee, and your foot. Hold the knee in place with one arm, and then I hold onto the back of the machine just for stability, but rotate round and kind of downish into that glute. And the rotation will then kind of stretch everything around in that area, and you should feel like a radiation of that stretch, okay? So it'll have like a nucleus of where right that stretches right here, but then it should then just kind of like spread out, okay? Like I say, radiate out, and that's you kind of like getting everything up through there. So it's a really useful stretch to do for your glutes. So useful, we're gonna do it on the other leg. So I will turn my back to you. But you can see the lovely redness of my new polo shirt. I think it's a bit big, even though it's the medium. Yeah, I suppose it's a good thing, but the shop that I use to make all of my t-shirts, certainly for the wicking sports, technical, that's the word I'm looking for, technical shirts, like I wear, they're all mediums, and they're all like a little on the baggy side. You kind of want that, I wouldn't want it to be like tight, for many, many reasons. Right, I'm standing up to do quads next. Rest one hand on the monitor, then flick my foot behind me, like the other foot, obviously the opposite foot, and then hold the heel up against my backside, and then just by creating a little bit of tension, oh, I'm gonna fall, a little bit of tension there, I'll create a stretch into my quads. As you can see, I'm kind of, I am wobbling a little bit, so by standing next to the machine, I can just quickly, I can quickly support myself. Just, yeah, I don't know whether, I mean, I've said before, I'd stopped stretching as much while not recording the RowAlongs for a while. So that's definitely had an impact on my ability to stretch, but also just, it's funny just being back in socks again. Oh. So I just changed legs, that's what that noise was for podcast people. That, oh. Yeah, it's because I'm now in socks again, and I don't have the stability of my shoes, and I'm now kind of rocking around over the arches of my feet, and I've got quite high arches. I think that's not helping when it comes to my stability, but which is all a good thing, because it means that I can teach that support and stability again. Maybe I was relying on my shoes too much. Right, I'm gonna come down and I'm gonna do hip flexors. So one foot in front of you with your knee above your ankle, so you get a nice 90-degree angle. Other foot is behind you, and you've got a 90-degree angle with that knee, okay? You see, hopefully, yeah. And then I'm just gonna send my body forwards. Hey, try not to knock the handle out of the holder while I do this. And I keep my toes up at the back of here. Up, yes, the toes are on the ground, heels up, that's the one I'm looking for, so my heels up, not my toes. And that gives me a better stretch. I've said this in previous videos, that this gives me a better stretch. Some people prefer to have the toes on the ground and say that that gives them a better stretch. It doesn't for me. It could well be that I have such a limited range of motion that is causing an issue. Now I'm gonna, before I swap legs, I'm gonna quickly run over to the camera and I need to change the light. Oh, sorry, me again. Oh, I can tell quick it's bright now. Obviously I meant battery, not light. I wasn't changing the entire light. Okay, right, so we're gonna swap legs. There we go. And then do exactly the same thing. So just keep a good posture as you sink everything forwards, okay? If you lean forwards with your upper or lower back, it kind of makes this stretch a little bit futile. It's quite important that you feel that isolation through your hip flexors if this is what you're trying to stretch. And remember, this is when I shall summon the great Jeff Cavalier. Jeff, where are you? Come to me. Oh, he's not, okay. But he's got, just search Athlean X hip flexors, and he's got tests that you can do to see if you really need to be stretching your hip flexors or not, because often it's like tight hamstrings or tight quads that's the problem and not your hip flexors. So shoulders next, hand out in front of you, hi, and then bring it across your body, hold it in place with your other arm by kind of hooking it over, and hold it in place, and that should just create just enough tension across your shoulders to give it a nice stretch. My watch is asking if I ended my workout. It keeps buzzing at me. I can't reach it with my nose. Or that. Is my zone still? Look, ta-da! That's my zone. Where are we? I'm on white or grey. Can't see what colour it's flashing. Sorry, that's going to be poor sound as I do that, isn't it? But this is the heart rate monitor I'm using now. Is a zone switch. Put it across the arm. So I've just changed arm. Sorry. Not that I want to turn this into, I'm going to make a video about the MyZone heart rate monitors, because I never quite understood what made them so special compared to just a Polar or Garmin or whatever, just like a standard heart rate monitor. But actually now that I've got one, got the switch, which works, you have one fitting for your wrist, one for your arm, and one to change the same sensor into a chest strap as well. So it's really handy. That's why it's called a switch, because you can switch where you wear it. But actually it's the community and everything else you get from MyZone that I'm like, oh, that's why they're so popular. Quite expensive, it must be said, but I do have a code that gets lots of money off. So so basically keep an eye out for the video I'm going to make. What are we doing next? Biceps. So hands behind you, like you're doing a ski jump, and then rotate your thumbs outwards, okay? And then you will hopefully stretch the long head of your bicep if you're doing it right. Oh, that's my phone telling me it's 7 o'clock, which means my dinner's going to be ready. So I'm going to have to get this over and done with quite nice and quick. I'm having a nice chorizo rice thing tonight, which I'm really looking forward to. I think it's chorizo, rice and chicken, which is why I wanted to do the row first and then eat that, because that's going to be quite spicy. Didn't do forearms, so let's quickly do that. So hands, I hardly ever do this sideways. So hands in front of you, in front of your face, push your hands together and then bring them down in front of your body. And you should get like a right angle between your hands and your forearms. And as you continue to press, you should feel like underneath your arms and your forearms and your wrists, you should get a nice stretch from this. And if you're kind of pushing your fingers together as well, just having that tension between your two fingers should stretch your fingers a little bit as well, which, having been hooked over the handle for the past 35 minutes in today's row, it's quite a nice idea to give a stretch to your fingers. So finally, let's do triceps. So one hand up in the air, and then it comes down and touches your spine. So your elbows pointing mostly up to the sky. Then use your other hand to just help your triceps go, or your elbow point a little bit higher, and you should feel a nice little stretch here. I've got to be careful here because it's this elbow that has got the weirdness on the ulnar nerve. I can feel it's like when I'm doing bicep curls or whatever, I can actually see a kind of a clicking going on in the pointy bit of my elbow. I got a boo-boo. Swap arms. See, I've got to be careful. I've got a strap to put around it and stuff, but it does nothing. I just have to rest is the only way, so I just have to just not do weights for a while, which isn't nice, but the best thing to do when it comes to injury is take care of it and not try and plow through it, because I'm not 18 anymore, that's for sure. Right, okay, so that's me done stretching, and that's us done with today's session. The last thing to give out is a hashtag, because I haven't really been doing the hashtag thing. I think did we not have hashtag Harry Potter and the spaghetti bolognese in the last one? But today it's gonna be endure, okay? Not endurance, because that's obviously the point of the row was endurance, but today it was about endure, because you have to endure my chat. I shouldn't really be, I'm not being negative when I talk about stuff like that. I just think that there are times where it's like I've just taken something, which I don't take drugs, I don't take anything, any kind of stimulant other than caffeine. But sometimes there's times where I'm on another plane and I'm just, what is he on about? Like when I was singing the butt song and stuff. But there's other times where I'm a little bit more kind of like, yeah, whatever, and I get lost a little bit talking technical, like the drag factor and stuff like today, but hopefully that's okay. So do let me know whether the kind of the more drier stuff like today, whether you're like, you know what, actually, just tell us a joke from time to time. Because I know ages ago, about a year and a half ago, someone actually said, yeah, I like them from a technique point of view, but he's quite dry in what he says. And I was like, oh, felt quite sad about that. But then I don't want to be, we don't need another, hey, come on, hey, crew, let's go. Hey, right, here we go. Let's whoosh and fire coming off and stuff. We don't need another one of them on the internet. I have a little niche and you're all along with me, the ones that watch. So thank you so much for being in my little niche. And you never know, maybe one day, kind of like Bob Harris. The amount of times I talk about him and I can never remember his name. The painty guy, it just becomes kind of soporific after a while. Soporific. After a while, you just kind of watch him and go, I'm kind of hoping that's the kind of crowd that I get in without the fuzzy hair. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop in a second, right after I say goodbye. I'm going to stop and I'm going to hold my position, and that's going to be my thumbnail that I'm going to take, and I'm going to give myself Bob, what's his face is Bob Harris, painter Bob's hair. I might even kind of get my little easel thing, right? So anyway, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you so much for doing this one, and really seriously for putting up with me. I will see you in the next row. Until then, take care, be well. Bye-bye.